Welcome to another live stream, everyone. Well, guys, Bitcoin has once again managed to test a new all-time high, but can the bulls remain in full control here, or do we have a couple of maybe some warning signs in the market showing up? I personally do have a couple warnings on my radar, to be honest, with Bitcoin. This does not mean that I'm necessarily bearish. However, I'm willing to at least protect myself from a potential bearish scenario, which is something I've actually been mentioning on this channel for a couple of weeks now at this point. And with that, of course, I'm talking about this macro swing getting tongue tied. This macro swing fail zone that I've been pointing out for a while now, outlined by this red resistance box up ahead. And basically, guys, you know that that's just my swing fail zone for a typical Stuber fib, because as I had been mentioning, since setting this all-time high back here, we technically did break that higher low structure on the macro trend. So this is a fib pull that I would have when looking for resistance for a typical Stuber fib on any other time frame. Basically the weekly, the daily, the 4 hourly, like I've got here, the hourly, the 5 minute. You guys know I typically like trading the 5 minute. But I do treat market structure the same. And that also doesn't mean that we need to get rejected here. But I would basically, I've been in a nice long position since below 109K. I mean, that position was over 1,000% today. It was sitting at around 1,050% when I last checked. So, I mean, I do only have about 20% still running on that position as a moon bag. But at this point up here, rather than looking to add to longs, I'm more so looking for a hedge to short, which is something I mentioned in my Telegram earlier this morning, that I was starting to build another attempt at basically some sort of rejection swing with a very tight stop loss here as more of a hedge than anything. Just because if this does happen to be a big reversal zone, I want to be protected with that. So basically with my long position, obviously that would, if we do get a big rejection, my long would start to lose value, as well as my portfolio would start to lose value in general, unless altcoins do their own thing, which is a whole nother thing. But basically, you know, my spot Bitcoin in that case would be losing value. And that's why I would basically want some sort of a hedge here as insurance purposes. I am not saying that this has to mean that the bull market has come to an end. I'm not saying that we have to start a bear market right now. I'm just looking at protecting myself from resistance. That's really all I'm doing here. And that is basically just this little zone here. If we break out past that, I'll have to reevaluate on some sort of new structure break to get bearish again. If we get above that 115, which would be my red box here, and just to show you what I mean, that's pulling a fib from our old all-time high here down to where we bottomed out, basically where I got into some nice long positions on the retest of support. And notice that that is my red box here up to my 115 fib. And that's why I've had 127.2 thousand on my radar for quite a while now. And again, we do not need to reject at this level. However, at this point, I would rather be looking for those for selling and shorting resistance rather than FOMOing long into it. That being said, guys, it's like I said, it's not that I'm overly bearish. I'm not going to get wrecked if we end up pumping to the upside. Just that position will take a small loss and my long will carry on. That's totally fine. And that's something that is quite possible, in my opinion, because if we look at what retail is currently doing, retail is approximately 64.2% short at this time. So retail's actually trying to short resistance at this point. And that leads me to believe that there could be some rocket fuel there. We could end up getting some sort of a short squeeze through this resistance. I am totally not blind, not oblivious to that. And that's why when I pull fibs like this, and I mean, that's what I love about fibs. You just have very clear invalidations and that sort of thing. So, I mean, I really don't care if this position gets stopped out and my longs carry on. That would be, well, I mean, that would be fantastic because everybody likes a bull market. If we end up getting a nice breakout and actually going parabolic, then I am already in a beautiful position for that. But I also want to be in a position where I can sleep tonight, knowing that we're trading at a very serious resistance level. And another thing with just how that lines up time-wise, you guys, I know I was mentioning this for the last couple weeks as well. Someone had put this on my radar, that if we go from bear market bottoms to bull market peaks, where we get those reversals, the very, very reversals, the last two cycles have lasted exactly 152 weeks, right? From bear market bottom, which was here, to bull market peak was here, 152 weeks. Same thing over here. We end up getting 152 weeks. And where are we currently sitting? We are currently sitting at 150 weeks, actually. If we happened to move this back a couple of candles, where that FTX collapse dump had kind of ended, we would be at that 152 week period right now. And guys, another thing, I'm not saying that has to happen again. We could absolutely go into a longer bull market and maybe the 4-year cycle doesn't matter anymore. That's absolutely a possibility. But just looking for confluences here of reasons why it makes sense to at least protect myself from the downside is, if we went from this candle here, we would actually be at 152 weeks already. But this green candle here actually did dip a little bit lower. So that is our bear market low. And like I said, we're right at 150 weeks at this point. So I'm not typically a time analyst, but you know what? There is often similarities in market cycles. And lining up with this potential big macro swing fail, when you zoom in, looking at the weekly, zooming into the 4-hour here, zooming into the 5-minute here. Here's another thing, you guys. Here's another thing I noticed today. Let's just turn off the trend master here. And I also want to turn off the colors here so you can see it a little clearer. But here we had a high and a higher high, our higher low, and that broke. That leads me to pull another bearish fib from here on the 5-minute chart. And notice that we ended up hitting that swing fail zone there and seeing a little bit of a rejection right now. We've actually dropped below the 786 a little bit. So yeah, I do have a bit of a short position that I laddered into earlier today. I have a few more orders up a little bit higher up here, just in case there's some sort of a wick up there, but still not really adding to my risk much because the invalidation would be so tight in that kind of a situation. But yeah, basically I did enter on the Stuber position, laddered in the 786, 886. I never actually took that third one. I'm waiting for the bigger, the higher levels if I'm going to make my position that big. Just considering my risk a little bit. But yeah, so like I said, that's just kind of there to protect myself at this point. What I would really like to see for confirmation of that is, already the fact that we got a sell signal on the trend master right in my Stuber fib resistance right there. That's a little bit of added confluence for a potential rejection here. But that being said, obviously on the 5-minute, we are still printing, and we have been since back here, basically. Well, actually not. This would have been our higher buy signal on the 5-minute trend. Our invalidation then would have been our basically where we got our pivot right before that. And just look at how that trend continued, right? Trend master, we got our higher buy. That's confirming our low point, our local support as a confirmed higher low, basically. And basically looking at some sort of, if you're, I was actually out of town. I never ended up catching this long as a scalp. But if you were entering there with a stop loss here, just below the lows, basically looking at a trend size move with a scalp sized risk involved. So on something like that, I would typically ladder in towards my invalidation as well. Just another bit of a strategy that I've been trading a lot recently, and using the MDX Trend Master to do that one. But I also love combining the MDX Trend Master with Fibonacci's, for example. Those are basically the 3 strategies I've been trading the last few months. Basically, which way the Trend Master is trending, trading Stuber fibs based on structure breaks, and also pulling fibs from these trending signals. And it's been a pretty good couple of months here. For those of you who are interested in trading based on charts and you want to see more examples of my my favorite trading strategies, some of my trade setup ideas, just more examples of how I look at market structure in general. Do yourselves a favor. and scan the QR code or click the link in the description down below. BloFin is actually currently, I never got it loaded. I can actually bring it up. No, I can't. Sorry, I'll have it up tomorrow. BloFin is currently offering my followers a special promotion for deposits and trading volume, basically. A special promo for the launch of the new crypto trading channel here. So very cool. It is on my X if you go to StuTube Trading as well. Should be there with some details as well. But yeah, basically right now, guys, the market looks really good. I'm not going to lie. It looks very strong. But as I say in every single stream, the market always looks strongest at resistance. It always looks weakest at support. You know, people were panic shorting down here right into support when I took those longs. I had mentioned that in the channel. But basically, it looked weak down here. It was uncomfortable pulling the trigger there. It always is. But that's why we have, you know, a systematic trade strategy, for example. And that's why I use Stuber Fibs so much, is because it's so systematic that it can really take the emotions out of it, right? Just, I have my entries laid out. I have my take profits laid out. I have my invalidation laid out. So there's really no emotions to get involved at that point, as long as I keep my position sizing reasonable. And now just looking at the exact opposite, except getting even closer towards my invalidation, right? Waiting for that actual swing fail zone. So this is where our risk gets very tight for looking at shorts in this area. So that's the main reason why I'm laddering into a short right now. It's just like I said, with retail being short heavy, I absolutely see the reason why the bulls could push through, get a bit of a short squeeze, as I was mentioning earlier. But, you know, I would just rather be looking for that protection, as I said. Aster is another one I've obviously been trading a lot recently. If you're trading something like this, be very cautious. Always just pay attention to how far your invalidation of your trade setup is compared to where you're looking at entering, because these ranges are way bigger than they appear. This is very, very, very volatile. Even from where I entered on this higher low down here for a bit of a scalp, if I end up getting stopped out here below my higher buy signal, just again using the MDX Trendmaster there, even if we drop down here, that's still over a 7% move from where I got in here. And this is just a 5-minute chart, you guys. So this is very volatile, right? If we're looking at the this Stuber Fib, for example, I guess actually we never even got down to the Stuber Fib. Oh, I remember where it was. I used to have a different one mapped out here where I actually played along on this. But even something like this, right? We came down to the 786, and this is a 4-hour. So keep that in mind. This is more of a swing trade, but from that 786 to the 214 target, I mean, that was over a 40% move to the upside. So like I said, these ranges are way bigger than they appear. So just be careful playing something like that. Ethereum, I had mapped this out in my last stream that I thought Ethereum could go higher because it was not at its macro resistance yet. So that's another thing. Right now, Ethereum technically at a very serious resistance level. I mean, to be fair, it's just the start of resistance, basically up to 51.30. That would basically be my invalidation for this potential bearish setup. But I mean, same thing. I'm not interested in shorting this one because I really think that even if Bitcoin corrects, I think altcoins are going to get some sort of a bounce and go on a nice run. But obviously that's yet to be determined. But at this point with Ethereum, I mean, here we have that structure, right? We have our high. I mean, you could even say higher, high, higher, high. Either way, if you wanted to look at this as your confirmed higher low or this one, either or, we ended up breaking that support level. And then we got that retracement back to that bearish Stuber Fib retest, right? We barely tested the 786 so far. So, I mean, it could actually remain bearish and still end up going higher like what Bitcoin has done. But that's basically the same setup I'm looking at. So, yeah, I mean, I do think that altcoins will make a good run yet, but I mean, for what it is right now, just it starts to get a little risky with things like Ethereum, right? As we're starting to trade into macro resistance, just like what I've been warning about with Bitcoin for the last week or two. Solana, same thing. We ended up hitting that 250 target I was talking about. We hit the macro Stuber fib, and then we got this bullish one that I had laid out in advance, and we perfectly tested that 786. But that move, as far as a Stuber setup, has played out. We hit the 214 fib target. So this is where I would start to expect some sort of resistance if we're not going to climb higher. So I mean, either way, just once again, I would be a little hesitant to start longing things into resistance, because the reason for this target here is it's very close to the opposite 786, basically. Notice it's front running it slightly, but that's basically the whole idea behind the 214 fib, is that's a target because it's basically the opposite 786 within, I mean, give or take a little bit. It depends how the shape of the range forms, basically. But at that point, I wouldn't really be looking to get into a Solana long, as we have already reached the targets for the bullish scenario that I was looking for, basically. So yeah, that's just something that we have to see with the market right now. Basically, a lot of things are at macro resistance. So we have to see if we're going to form some sort of a rejection where we can get into some assets a little bit lower, or are we going to break out and actually go parabolic and get a crazy run? If that happens, I mean, I am here for it. That would be so exciting. I just don't really want to bank on that at this point, right as we are trading into resistance. That's my only thing. In the chat, let me know, how are you guys feeling about the market? Are you guys bullish? Are you bearish? Do you think that's the end of the cycle? Do you think we're just getting started? Do you think an altcoin season is actually possible? How is everyone feeling? And thank you so much for being here with me, you guys. Please do me a favor. If you appreciate these live streams, do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the new channel if you haven't yet. Hopefully you have. But yeah, likes would go a long way at this point, because obviously a very new channel here that I'm streaming on. Same partnership with the Financial Summit, same partnership with BloFin, the same Telegram channel. None of that changes, you guys. Just streaming on the new channel, basically. So very cool. If you are in my Telegram channel, by the way, I did post earlier today, my partners at BloFin are currently giving you guys a promotion for the startup of my new channel here. Find the details in the Telegram. Also, my stream tomorrow, I'll make sure that I have it up so that people can scan that as well. But yeah, hopefully you're all feeling good. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic day so far. Hype is another one I want to look at right now. I mean, Hype has been on such a mission since it bottomed. Where was that? Around $8, $9, basically since breaking the downtrend of sell signals here. And with a retest of $17, went on an absolute moon mission to about 60 US dollars. And the whole way on the 4 hour, the MDX Trendmaster was just printing higher sell signals, which you would generally ignore, because as they're trading higher, you're just fighting the trend. As long as there is higher buy signals, I don't really want to fight that bullish trend, because so far, every one of these, ever since here around, let's say $35, every single one of these has been a beautiful play since. So not saying that this one has to be the same. Eventually, those trends do break. But at this time, I mean, we're still seeing a beautiful trend. I really wouldn't want to see us lose this support, basically where our local bottom is right now, because that would be the pivot from our recent higher buy signal, basically. So as long as we are basically above $39.60, Hype is just looking fantastic on the 4 hour to me. That's obviously a bit of a pullback from where we are right now. That would be, what kind of a percentage are we looking at here? Yeah, that's, well, about a 17% drop from here. But like I said, big ranges. This is a big volatile asset on a 4 hour range. These are big ranges. Looking at playing it, I mean, I don't know if I would YOLO long right here unless I saw something on the shorter time frames. But I would be interested in watching something like this for a bullish Stuber, which would start around $42.23. That would be our 786. And basically my reasoning for this, you guys, is because on the downtrend, we broke the micro downtrend. We had a low, lower high. We broke that. So now we have a bit of an uptrend. So at that point, if this were a 5-minute chart, I wouldn't be looking for longs up here. I would be looking for some sort of a retest down at support. And you don't always get that, but those are the setups that I typically like to see. So I don't see why hype couldn't end up coming back and retesting this support of this range, basically, especially if Bitcoin does get some sort of a reaction here, or a rejection rather. I could see altcoins going for a little bit of a tumble, but then if Bitcoin gets any signs of life or anything like that, that's where I would expect altcoins to really have a reaction off of their support levels. So it's going to be an interesting couple of months, in my opinion. I think that we are going to get very volatile. I think that goes for both directions. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And for those of you, like I said, if you want more examples of how I pull fibs, how I look at market structure, just my overall thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. There's a sign up bot. It should make things as painless as possible. that is the goal. Let me catch up on the chat a little bit. Crypto Jacker, yo bro, very logical approach as always, but you know what they say, better to be hedged and underwater than left behind. Yep. Like at this point, if my hedge starts going against me, I don't care. I'll still sleep better than if I didn't have some sort of a short going into this macro resistance. It's not that I'm going crazy with my position size, because like I said, it's not even that I'm bearish. Just literally trading the charts, I see potential resistance. I want to be protected from it because it's a very large one, right? On a weekly time frame after about a 3-year uptrend, it's just very serious resistance. That's all. But guys, if you do appreciate these live streams, once again, hit that thumbs up if you appreciate the streams, thumbs up if you appreciate my level-headed approach, thumbs up if you're bullish, thumbs up if you're bearish. Honestly, I am covering all bases right now because, like I said, I have a beautiful Bitcoin long from down here, so I would love to break resistance. I now have a beautiful short here if we end up getting rejected. And so I am also happy to go bearish at this point. It's a very stress-free position to be in. If the short loses a little money and the long makes some, I mean, I'm okay. And at that point, I think we would continue to staircase higher because there's a lot of resistance for a lot of reasons at this level. I mean, even this diagonal trend line's very nearby. That just the macro swing fail zone. There's just so much reason there to have resistance, but there's also that rocket fuel to blast right through. And if we do blast through, I have a feeling that we're going to start trending again for a little while. At least I would hope so. If we just set a couple of higher highs really quickly and lose the immediate higher low very quickly, and what I mean by that is basically if we end up setting a new higher high and another higher high, but then we end up losing that higher low confirmation, at that point, I would consider the possibility that a downtrend is starting again. At that point, I would be looking for some sort of a resistance retest, looking for reasons to hedge again. But if, on the other hand, we do something like this, higher highs and higher lows, I will be buying every dip along the way as long as we're setting higher highs, basically. Biddy to 129. Yeah, that's the thing. If we do break this resistance, we break that 115 at 127.2K. I see no reason why we wouldn't go to about 130. Honestly, maybe even just slam right through and go to 140. But I don't know. I still have a feeling that Bitcoin is near its cycle top, whether or not it's already in. I just think timing wise, I have a feeling it's going to be in the next, either very soon, like this week, or in the next, but just by the year end, basically. But we'll have to see, right? It's not like I've sold everything. I'm not in a panic or anything. It's just something to be aware of, because the market doesn't always care about our feelings or what we think is going to happen. So I'm willing to trade the chart as it comes, basically. As structure breaks, I'll change my opinion. Alts can run. Yeah, like I said, I have a feeling, even though there'll be pullbacks, so I am definitely taking some more profits off of my Aster longs. I do think that altcoins have time to run. I mean, that's yet to be seen. We will have to see what happens, but I really think that even if Bitcoin pulls back, I think altcoins will also pull back. But as soon as the market finds any sort of footing, any sort of support or anything, that's where you're going to see altcoins actually get those nice moves. They're going to react a lot more violently than Bitcoin will to support, in my opinion, for the end of the year. That's just a feeling I've got at this point. But yeah, so that's about that, guys. That's my reasoning for taking a little bit of a short, even though I'm not necessarily bearish. Protected from both sides right now at this point. Those of you who are in my Telegram channel, I mean, you've been kind of seeing how I've been doing this. And guys, this is exactly why I say all the time that I ladder into positions. I ladder out of positions. I almost never close an entire position because of exactly what happened here. I was taking profits along the way in the immediate range, just from resistance in this in this little downtrend. But I also wanted to leave some run and then taking some more profits as we get into macro resistance, but still letting some run, because for all I know, this is absolutely going to break out. And even if it's a smaller position than I started with, it's been a very comfortable ride, taking profits along the way and updating my stop loss. And there's nothing to worry about. And at this point, I am currently protected from both sides. So it's a very nice stress-free position to be in right now. So hopefully you guys aren't too stressed out about the market. I know it's crazy times right now. I know it's crazy volatile. It's very hard not to get just slammed with FOMO as we're trading at all-time highs. But just remember, it's not that we need that big rejection, but just until, if we could even pump just a couple percent higher, I would honestly feel a lot better. Just that would be a nice sign of strength to me. So honestly, it's not that I'm bearish on this trend by any means. I just want to see the bulls push about 2 or 3% higher, and I would feel a lot better about this trend, about breaking these highs. So hopefully we'll see that soon. Oh no, we got people having family calling about Biddy. I was talking to someone earlier today about that exact thing, that, I feel like we haven't really seen that retail FOMO yet. That's one thing that's, I never got all those phone calls I was getting last cycle. I've had a couple people starting to ask about crypto a little more, but not like last cycle. It's different. So that's one thing that makes me think, maybe they're holding off a little bit. Maybe it will be a longer cycle until they really draw retail in, but we'll have to see. Adrian's reloading hype at 45, you say. 45? Okay, yeah. There's potential support there. I would just be playing it a little safer if I was waiting for the full swing is all. I like it. Pete, no stop. Look at you. Welcome, my friend. Good to see you. Hopefully you're doing well. Thumbs up for Pete, no stop, you guys. The dude's a legend. You say my resolution isn't as good as my past videos? I will... It's the same settings. Maybe it's just how I'm zoomed in. Maybe it's how I have my colors or something. How's the resolution for everyone else? Looking okay? It might look like a lot as well. There's a lot of colors going on. Just because I have so many resistance boxes mapped out. But thank you for letting me know, just in case. Pete is a legend. But yeah, guys, at this point with Bitcoin, if we end up, let's just say we end up breaking this little bit of resistance we have and we print another higher buy signal on the MDX Trendmaster, at that point, I would then bump up a new confirmed higher low on the trend. Basically, if we did something like this and got a higher buy signal, I would be using this as my invalidation on the uptrend, basically. But other than that, since we have this sell signal and last time we got support was down here, I would also be willing to pull a fib something like this. I'm not really looking for new longs on Bitcoin at this point. For longs, I'm more so looking at altcoins at this point. But I wouldn't be surprised to see support come in basically starting around, what would that be, 123.8? Basically 123,850 down towards, well, then basically we get down to bigger support, even if that gets invalidated. So what I would love to see to confirm my bearish thoughts about this little bit of a rejection is if we do end up, whether it happens right away where we print a new buy signal or we end up going lower and printing a new buy signal, whatever. But if we end up getting a new lower sell signal on the 5-minute Trendmaster, at that point, I would think that that is added confluence for the fact that the momentum may be shifting to the downside. We don't have that yet, but that is something that I'll be watching for. And those of you in my Telegram channel, I will, if I'm still awake at that point, I will try and follow along and see if I can spot that signal. Maybe I'll set an alert too. But yeah. Anyways, guys, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. If so, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not, so that you don't miss these live streams. And as I mentioned, if you want access to my private Telegram channel where I share some of my favorite trading strategies, trade setup ideas, just my overall thoughts on the market in general, do yourselves a favor, scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description down below. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.